Good evening and welcome to the Stables Bar and Restaurant here in Lurgan, Tegnavon. We're very pleased to be here. They've just about finished their 50th year of celebrations here. When the McGones put the place together, they've done renovations in the meantime. They've got a fantastic restaurant downstairs. You might have seen some of the pictures of the events on their 50th anniversaries. They had a quiz beforehand, and probably the celebrations will continue for a little while longer. Well, let's talk to Saoirse. Saoirse is the manager here. Saoirse McGowan, you're one of the family, as it was.
I am indeed.
Tell me a wee bit about the stables and this 50th anniversary in particular.
So the stables was established in 1972 here in the townland of Tegnavon. It's a fantastic building. It's been ongoing since for the past 50 years, and I'm very proud to say that I was part of the 50th celebrations that are passed in December. So we had a big fantastic do down in the lounge, and it was great to see all the old and past and new customers coming to join us for a wee bit of a dance and we get together, and it was really great to see everybody come together to support us. It was fantastic night.
You had live music that night. Who
We
were the
did.
guys? I saw
We had the
rock and rollers.
Yes, we had the All-Star Tribute come and join us. They played a wee dolly mixture of everything from 60s, 70s, 80s, so something to sort of hit the crowd well. They were all up dancing and really enjoyed the night now, they did.
Now, you're hardly old enough to get more than 2 decades out of the whole 50 years. This was a place to come, and particularly on a Monday night.
Yes, I remember everyone talking about Lips nightclub, Lurgan's in place it was well known as, yeah. I don't remember that at all. I'm not as old as people may think I am.
Well, some of the boys that are with us tonight, one of them in particular remembers coming here on a regular basis. Tommy Coleman. Tommy was thrown out of here many times.
I'm sure, yes, I'm sure.
Your grandmother, wasn't it? Yeah.
Your grandmother, yeah. Yeah, he was far too old.
Oh yes,
That's the reason why.
maybe, yeah.
But a great place of entertainment for Tegnavon and for the whole of Lurgan, and continues to be so. It's moved from then. I think your dad was took over from your grandmother Annie and your other grandparent.
Yes, so my dad once, unfortunately, when my granddad passed away, he took over, and he's been managing the stables ever since. Unfortunately, due to ill health, he has Parkinson's, quite developed Parkinson's, so he has had to take a step back. So me and Sean are quite privileged to be taking on the role as the next generation of the stables owners.
Well,
hopefully.
Congratulations, and thanks for giving us the venue
no
this
bother.
evening.
Thank you. You're very welcome.
Thank you.
Cheers.
So this is Saoirse McGowan. Come up and say hello sometimes. She's the restaurant manager here. We're going to take our leave of the circumstance. You and I are going to get away from the camera. And we're going to hand you to the preview of, the year gone by, when you get people like the gentleman who we have with us tonight. Eugene Craney is here, of course. Eugene Craney reports, and of course for your Lurgan. We're going to get the inside track on some of the best players of the year. I think we've got an award or two to give away too. So stay tuned to this special, more than preview, it's an awards show as well, here in the Stables. I'm going to call it a hotel. It could be a hotel. We're going to be here for the night anyway, so it'll be a hotel. We're going to have a good evening. I'm going to hear some good debate and thoughts of two very, very intensely interesting men from the world of Gaelic. I'll tell them that anyway, and then that'll make them perform a little better, perhaps. We're going to hand you over now. I'm Donald McCone. I'm going to hand you over to my colleague, Eugene Craney.
Thanks, Donna. These two gentlemen on my right hand side need very little introduction. To the far side there, Tommy Coleman, former Clonard manager, who stepped down at the end of a very successful run in 2021 and took a year out. And beside me here, Brenton Hughes. Brenton's with Armagh Miners for his last 3 or 4 years. Boys, we're going to do what everybody else does after a while and pick what's known as a Lurgan and District All-Stars team. We had a word with some of the local insiders from the clubs over the last 2 or 3 months, and they give us quite a few number of players. Gaelic Life does it, Irish News do it, All Stars do it themselves from Crow Park. So we're going to pick our own wee local crowd, and we've got a nice wee bit of sponsorship for the Lurgan District Player of the Year from the stables. Later on, we're going to have a word with the staff down there. But boys, just looking back on last season, with first of all, have a look at the club season in Armagh. Brendan Hughes, you know all the young players coming through in the county. Are we in for another 19 years of Cross McLean domination?
Well, they obviously came back and won the senior championship last year, and they definitely have some very good young players in the pipeline. Aaron O'Neill, for example, a younger brother, Rhiannon Oshin. He's been centre half forward in the county minors the last 2 years, and he's now currently in the under 20 squad. So I suppose when you have players of that calibre, and then obviously the other players who played senior Ronan Fitzpatrick and boys like us who have played senior the last few years and they're already established there. So they're going to be strong. They're going to be hard to beat. But sure, listen, it gives everybody else something to aim for, you know.
Yeah, it really does. Brandon, looking back, you know, intermediate championship, we're closer St Paul's are here. That unlucky against Shane O'Neill's in the final of the intermediate. Looking at that, first of all, before we go back into the senior, Wolf Tones were well improved. They were beat by St Paul's, who were beat by Shane O'Neill's in the final. The intermediate was very competitive as well as the senior. So did it go the way you'd expected? Shane O'Neill's were favourites and just about got over the line.
Yeah, well, St Paul's sort of grew into the competition. I saw them in their first game against Clonmore, and the truth is Clonmore could have beaten them. Like, but St Paul's improved week on week and game on game, and like whenever they played Tullysarin, like they were very impressive that day in the athletic grounds, and then obviously in the final, like like they were leading right up to the end of the game. So you know the improvement that they had, but I suppose listen, Shane had them well drilled and they believed in what he was doing, and you know they followed the instruction, and you know they had various players on different days that stood up to the plate, and you know that they had that range of scores in their team and all too. So I think St Paul's will be a common team. Like they're very close as well to getting promotion to senior. You know they were level in points with St Peter's, and you have to won that championship. Like they were obviously up to senior, so they're not far away.
Yeah. Just go back in a second, Brett and Tommy. Two of the games where Crossmaglen could have been beaten were against Drummond T and Silverbridge. I think maybe one of them at least went to extra time. You were pretty disappointed in what Clonard did this year. I know Shea Heffern's heading off for a year to travel. Would you expect Cross to go and dominate, or are you going to expect maybe 4 or 5 teams to be challenging them this year? I know it's the obvious question, but I mean, can that be done?
Yeah, certainly. I think, you know, if you're going to go out with a negative attitude that Crossmaglen can't be beaten, you might as well not start the season off at all. No, I think that, you know, rightly so, Crossmaglen, you know, they got themselves back to the top, and they're the team there to beat, and they've set the standard again. Will they go on a run there? It's hard to say. There's some great young players, but there's a lot of teams in and around Armagh who have also some good young lads. And you look at Silverbridge. Silverbridge had them on the rack last year, but for a silly backyard, you know, that enabled Crossmaglen to get back in the game. It enabled him to free Rian O'Neill up. Rian dropped back. He was able to direct it, and that their 10-minute spell from being 4-5 down, they went in front and went on to win the game. So yes, they can be won, but I think one of the things that, you know, it's going to have a burn on it this year too, and that's why I feel that the clubs with the bigger pounds and the stronger pounds, we're going back into this round robin.
Yeah.
It's something that personally I am not in favour of. You know, I don't think it does justice for all the clubs, and you know, with all due respect to Greenmore, who have holding real good high esteem, some great lads there and some good friends there. But you know, when you look at the clubs in their position that have to go through, or even if you take where Brenton is with Sarsfields, where his squad himself, he wouldn't have that big of numbers.
Yeah.
And if you're going to have to come through 3 or 4 games before you actually get into the knockout stage, you know, your chances maybe of losing 2 or 3 of your critical players, or you know, real key players, you know, and you just haven't got them to replace them in small rural clubs. Whereas I think it's set up now for the bigger pounds and the bigger clubs, and Crossmaglen certainly one of them, and you know, they're going to be to the fore again, and certainly they're going to be the team to beat.
So the bigger clubs could get bigger and the smaller clubs get weaker. Maybe could you put Murray in that bracket as well then without the resources?
Well, Murray this year, you know, there's rumours after rumours with Murray all the time. It's only time will tell where they are with retirements and stuff.
Yeah.
I've said it before and I'll say it again. Them lads don't do anything to anybody. You know, they've been an absolute credit to everybody involved in Murray. They've been a credit to their parish. They've given everything over the years. It may be a stage where Murray might just be looking at, you know, dropping back into 1B, and that's where they are, maybe re-establishing themselves, getting a few players, trying to get a few players through. Yeah, but certainly, you know, for older players like that, the risk of injury and everything else that goes with it, especially the tempo in the championship that is played at, you know, it's just hard to see them, you know, for me, see them coming through it this year, and I think it's probably the bigger, it's the clubs with the bigger squads that will be to the fore towards the end of it.
We talked about Ballymacnab there, Bretton, and we talked about Greenmore. if you take the adage through what Tommy's saying there, basically that means that Clonagale and Clonerne will have a chance in the championship because they've got the squad numbers, they've got the minors coming through. Clon's won the minors this year, Clonerne's been dominated on the age level, so the town clubs would have an advantage.
Well, you would think that theoretically, but I think, Eugene, you have to look at the fact that, yeah, Clonagale won the minor championship this year, and at one stage early last year, I had 11 of them on the county squad when we were running at about 50 or 52. And, you know, there's no doubt in their quality, really good players, Callum O'Neill and James Austin and Shane McCann and the Laveries, and that's first class players. But they're coming out of under 17. Next year, they're still only under 18. Like, they're still at school, a lot of these boys, and
Right.
they're not really ready yet for senior football. It's to get them straight out of minor into senior. They need a couple of years to bed in. They need a couple of years to come through. You know, when you look at, you mentioned Crossmaglen earlier, and like a Ronan Fitzpatrick and people like that who are that year or two older, Darrell Callahan, you know, those boys they weren't coming straight out of under 17 and getting in, you know, setting the world on fire with Crossmaglen. It took them a year or two. The other thing about this format in the championship and the group stages, it's only shadow boxing in the groups. Like, it's only when you come out of the groups, you still get to the last 8. You now have 3 games before you get there, as opposed to having 1 game before you get there. But it really only kicks off then. So, as Tommy said there, like, if you have a shallow squad and you lose 3 or 4 players through the group stages, then when you come to the actual knockout, when it matters, you have to be at full strength come the last 8. Like,
Did you
when
worry about
you
the
really
dead
have-
rubbers, Brendan, too? Would that be a situation? I remember that happened before. Teams were knocked out and they were getting beat maybe twice in the third game and met nothing. You know, would you worry about that situation?
It could happen, but it will happen at some stage. It doesn't happen that often altogether. I'm not sure what the probability of it happening is or whatever, but it wouldn't happen that much. The last time they did it, the 1B teams got 2 home games and 1 away game, and the 1A teams was the other way around. So it gave the incentive, and for a 1B team to have a home match, you know, against, say, a big gun or whatever it was, then, you know, it gets the big crowd in and it creates the atmosphere and it creates the potential for the shock. But at the same time, unless you're actually knocking them out of the competition, they're coming back to bite you, because then you'll have to beat them a second time further down the line in the athletic grounds or somewhere, and then that's a different
That would be for cross.
that's a different gig altogether. Well, either have motivation then.
Yeah, but the only one positive thing that I would say on it would be maybe the league would be taken that slightly more serious, because it's the draw will be done away with. Of course, it's the top
Seeded,
4.
they're gonna seed them.
It'll be seeded, you know, and you know, and your top 4 will go into will be your A team, and then the bottom 4 they go in. That's in the second pool, and vice versa down through the league. So you would be theoretically, you know, you'd be wanting it to go into the top end of it to try and get yourself, you know, secure yourself a better draw.
Tommy, just going to ask you, you were in the situation 2 years ago, and I spoke to you a few months back about Stephen Kiernan, the pressure he was under across McLean. They lost 2, and then he came back and won it this year. Consider that you were there yourself, and then he stepped down, Rory took over Clonerne. He has delivered, now he's gone, and have a new manager in. Cross McLean have a new guy in, Stephen has stepped down again. Is that expectancy there every year with Cross McLean? You know, is that the stage where you really have to win the championship to be successful as a manager?
Yeah.
Is progression not enough for them?
Quick answer to that there is yes. You know, and it's the only answer to it. You know, and when you look, Anthony Cunliffe, Anthony's in there this year with him. He's an All-Ireland captain, ex-All-Ireland captain, club captain now, and he's still Jim with them. So that's two captains. That's 1 All-Irelands for Cross McLean's. That's part of their management team. So their expectation is where it'll always be, and you know they'll be wanting to secure Armagh first, and then they were disappointed with their performance in the athletic grounds this year in the Ulster Championship. There's no getting away from that, and that's something that they'll be putting down and will hurt them. It's something that they'll want to move on, but obviously they'll have to win Armagh first. But they'll, you know, the calibre of the managers that they can get.
Yeah.
You know, there's 2, as I said, there's 2 All-Ireland winning captains
Yeah,
taking
well,
them
after
this
the other-
year. So you know that's a statement in itself.
And they won the 19s, I think, in Armagh this year, didn't they, the championship?
Yeah, they won
That's right,
19s as well.
That says a lot as well.
Yeah.
But just staying with Clonerne, Tommy, if you don't mind, you stepped down last year. Shea Heffron, was probably the best fullback in Armagh when he's won the championship. I thought, in my opinion, when he's won it that year, 2012, I thought he was the best centre fullback that year in Armagh, and he wasn't with the county. So he's going to be missed at Clonerne. Can you see all boys, I've asked you this before as well, can you see all boys stepping into the breach there? Maybe Ryan Owens coming back, Big Tyrone. Is there anybody who's going to put in there to fill that gap, to be fair?
Yeah, well, you know, Micheál O'Shea now, Micheál's had a couple of good years over him. He's a strong, big, young lad. You know, he's now he's been around a couple of seasons, he's gained more experience. So, you know, with not having to look at Jay over his shoulder, maybe be able to relax into the game. Or somebody like him. Of course, Owen's coming back, will release somebody else as well. You know, we'll be hoping Ryan there should have, you know, with this winter over him, he should be around ready to go come the start of the season. Certainly breaking himself in that there part, and, you know, mid-season come championships, he should be no excuses there. He should be ready for it. You know, Ryan Meehan the same.
He's got his year now. He's got that year.
He's got that year and a half now. Yes, and then you have Johnny Terode, who's went through his operation as well, and he should be right and ready to go. So, and then you have the younger players that's coming through again. As Brenton says, I think people expect too much out of some of the younger players coming through at time. It takes them a while to bed in, you know. And I remember even on our own run, and people were saying to me about Jack and Rory and why wouldn't you start and this. You just need lads just at the right time, just for them to come in, to find their feet at the right time, and you know. Games, especially championship, intensity at the start of it's fierce, and you know, at young lads you're just not used to that there sort of level of intensity. But when the game eases out a wee bit and all that that sort of rough and tumble's gone, and then you introduce something that allows them to exploit themselves, and then get some of that experience, and then you know. I've said Jack has went on this year, hasn't come on leaps and bounds, you know, and for being introduced to them there, and you know he's in the first 15 there, starts every week, and that's the way it has to go along. Yeah, it takes a while. It takes a while for them younger players to be.
And we were sort of used to Clonagale success up here. You remember the team in the early 70s with Brennan Seeley they had their 100-year celebration this year. Considering you're so closely linked to the Armagh Miners, people are saying Clonagale will win the championship. There's no guarantee of it. Senior champion, no guarantee irrespective of how good they are. Do you think is that a possibility? I mean, is it a foregone conclusion? There's going to be difficult, obviously, with Cross McLean's domination. Well, people are saying the Clonagale are going to win the championship. It's going to be a hard one, obviously.
Well, they may well win the championship at some stage, but I think the worst thing would probably be the weight of expectation on the shoulders of 17-year-old lads. At some stage, they probably will win a championship because they have a tradition, and the young players have a winning mentality. And they've won the championship this year, but there was a huge weight of expectation on them the previous year to also win the minor championship, whenever they were knocked out quite early and ended up with Clonairon and the Harps in the final, which was a surprise final.
Yeah.
But no, Clonagale bounced back, and I say they have. There's no doubt in the quality. The issue might be the retention of all these players, because apparently there's 9 of these players have now moved into the Clonagale senior squad as under 18s, and there's obviously only a certain amount of space in any, because they had 1 or 2 from the Keenan Campbell and Brendan O'Hagan the previous year as well. So, that's now 11 under 19s on the senior squad.
Yeah.
And can they develop them, move them along, keep them occupied? Do they play reserve? Do they play a bit of senior? Do they have cameo appearances here and there? I don't know what way they'll manage it. They've a new management team in as well.
Yeah.
Albeit Ronan's involved from within the thing, and he knows the young fellas haven't worked with them and that type of thing.
Yeah.
So, it's not a bad problem to have. There's certainly no shortage of quality and certainly no shortage of players. But those young lads, like Shane McCann, is probably the one that physically looks like he could be, able to go in.
Is he with you this year again?
No, not this year. No, he's over
age,
age now. But he was there the previous 2 years, albeit he had bad injury last year and stuff. But he seems to be back now, and he played very well at full back for them in that minor championship. But physically, he's big enough, and he's that size. But again, he's still only the same age as the rest of them, so I think they have to be careful there, just to see what's what. But certainly down the line, I think as long as they're seen to make progress, and for every club the measure of progress is different. As Tommy said, like the measure of progress in Crossmaglen will be to go a step further in Ulster, but to do that they have to overcome a number of teams in Armagh, obviously win that championship, and that's a challenge for all teams.
Yeah. There's a thing that's been baffling me for a number of years in Armagh. My mum's been up as part of the country, so I'm talking to the boys are up all the time about it. I thought by this stage, if you look at all the good clubs, I thought Ballymacnabb would have won a championship by this stage. Look at Grugan, Jack Grugan, Rory Grugan, McPartland, the players that have, Kennedy came back this year. Is there a lack of belief, Bretton? You may be closer than I would be. What do you think it is?
I don't think so. I think there's plenty of belief, and certainly in the players you mentioned there, and in the like of Pádraig Gribben and those players as well. They have good quality all throughout their the field. But it's easier said than done. Like, you know, they're coming. They've had a golden generation of players together, if you like, and. But when they had been coming through, they had a great success when they were at school in Katy. Like, they got the McLaren Cup finals and
Yeah.
things like that there.
Yeah.
But they weren't playing at underage at grade A or first division and that sort of thing. And they came through and they did great work. Like, they blended a real good team. And like, back as far as maybe 10, 12 years ago, Pascal Canavan was in as their manager, and they were starting to come then. Now he's in there with the Harps this year. And like, the Harps were after winning Division 1, and now they've obviously brought him in as a, you know, to see if he can get them a step further. And
yeah.
obviously, the progress there, it's quite obvious what that would be for them. Like, so, but with Ballymcnab, he was in there maybe around 2010, 2011, and you know, they started to really push and make a go at it, and the Jerome Johnson in with them too, and that, you know, they went sort of their comfort zone to bring people in to get the best out of the team. And, you know, I don't know, should they have won a championship? They were knocking on the door for a long time, but ultimately came up short whenever
Yeah.
when it mattered, like on the big occasion.
Tommy,
You know?
you thought they were over the line last year and they relaxed and maybe started to defend. I don't mean relax as in term of relaxing, but you thought they were probably over the line and they dropped back instead of pushing on.
I think when they look back on reflection, and I was speaking to the boys after it, both Paul and Barry, and they asked what I thought, and I told them I felt that, you know, there were 2 points clear, had an ample opportunity to push on and go 4, 5, 6 and put it beyond Mahary's reach, but you're sitting with a 2 point lead, anything can happen at any time, and you know, that's what happened once Mahary got and centered it, and an experienced team like them, once they got it, they knew, they smelt blood and they went on and they were able to get over the line that night. But I think that personally, if they left it behind them, would it have been good enough to go on and beat Crossmaglen in the semi-final? I don't know. That there remains to be seen. But you look at, you know, we talk about teams in the past, you look at Drummond T and the great Drummond T team that they had, and they went to final, 3-4 finals,
And Cross were
every year.
excellent.
Cross just blew them out of the water all the time. You had, you know, the O'Rourke's and Martins and all them boys, Dailies, they were all real good footballers, tremendous footballers, and never won a championship. So championships are not easy won. They're, you know, they're very, very, very difficult to win, you know, and it's just not, no matter turning up and people who think that they're, you know, it came out there, and expectation is another big one that's on them. I think expectation was certainly around Ballymcnab for a while. I don't think that the expectations there are just as much now. I think it's more the players themselves are driven, that, you know, they realise themselves. There's a lot of them coming to the you know, they're in the twilight of their career. Let's put it that way. And it's coming there. It's now or never.
Yeah.
I personally felt last year might have been there for them,
Yeah.
but from all accounts, I think they're going to stick at it and give it another go. And you know, who would begrudge them it? You know,
No,
if
absolutely
they
nobody.
were to get over the line,
Nobody.
certainly, I don't think there's any of us would, because they've been a great team over the years, and you know, the lack of Rory Grigan, I suppose. You don't realise how good Rory is. You're actually up,
They need to mark him.
and you have to try and get somebody to mark him. You know, and the
Where does he
vision,
play? He's all over the place.
the vision that he has, the work rate, everything. You know, he's such a complete player. For him, maybe for club football, you know, for him not to get a championship medal would be an awful shame.
I understand that. Brendan, just moving a wee bit sideways to the club, to the county situation. You're with the Miners a number of years, and Derry and Tyrone, with a Brighton saying Donegal are dominating. We haven't won a senior championship in a few years, and the Miners, the guys that came through in 2009 with Falker, Mernon, James Morgan, and a few other ones who were on that good Miner team. Had you expected a Miner championship in that period or the last 10, 12 years? You know,
It's difficult.
from that. I know
It's
I know
difficult. Like, if you look at the St Paul's tournament, the club tournament's on at the minute in Belfast, and the final is coming up now. It's Dungiven against Four Masters, and you know, that's Donegal and Derry. That's two of the teams you mentioned, and the Derry teams have a brilliant record in that. You know, and the standard of underage football in Derry is light years ahead of more or less any county. And they're like Dungiven were surprise winners of the Derry Championship, and now they're in the Ulster final. And if they were to go out and play some of the other Derry teams in the Ulster final, there'd be no guarantee they'd win it. But they were fairly strongly fancied to beat Four Masters. So they're coming from a high level, and then as a result of that, the school teams like St Pat's Armagh won the McCrory Cup in 2000, with Malachy Mackin and Ronan Clark and Sean Kavanagh and people like that playing, and they haven't won it since. you know, and that's 22 years, going on 23 years now, and you know, none of these things are unrelated. Like, so it's a case of raising the standard at club level and then bringing it up, you know, and I suppose like given that with the minors at the minute, it's sort of part of the Orchard Academy, and that really what we're looking at, we have a curriculum, if you like, that they follow through on the 14, 15 and 16, and it's with a view to developing players, to try and produce players for the next level all the time. And you know, would like to think that, you know, within that we'll develop a winning habit, and somewhere along the line, hopefully we can get the 2 or 3 wins in a row that, you know, delivers an Ulster title, and that's really what it is. But again, without putting a huge weight of expectation on these players, because with county minor now, but like club minors, I've been under 17. Like the nature of the squad at the minute, the new squad that's just been picked yesterday. The players were informed yesterday who was on the squad, and there's 6 players who are only 4th years in school. So it's under 17. Like, and some of these lads are, you know, they're 15. So it's you can't be putting undue pressure on because they're children.
Yeah.
And the way you have to look at it is they're somebody's child, so therefore they have to be, they have to have the arm wrapped around them, they have to be looked after, and they have to be
And the
nurtured.
club want a piece of them as well, then.
Well, the club do want a piece of them, but you know, would like to think we'll be speaking to the club shortly and to the parents, and sort of trying to map out what's the best thing for a child in any 1 week. And you know, they need a couple of rest days, and they need, you know, time to do a bit of schoolwork, and they need a bit of balance in their life. So and it's at the same time they also have to be enjoying the experience. So with all of that, there's an awful lot goes into the mix. If it stays as under 17 and it was up for debate at the minute, you know, then those same problems will continue to exist. It might be better if it moved on to a slightly older age group, but we haven't got control of any of that. That's the decision we made in Croke Park.
Exactly.
You know? So
we'll
take it as we see it.
I remember Gary playing with Coleman's, and the brother said to him, or the teacher said to him, look, don't worry about playing football. He says, when you get your 4 hours studying done at night, you can go and do whatever you want. You know, that was every night, 4 hours studying, but you had to balance it. Tell me, just going back to what happened last year, we finished off with a penalty shootout in Croke Park against Galway, who we thought might have won on one of the things. So what was your views looking back? I know you're going to Tully for a big game in the February. I'm versus Kerry. Looking back, can we push on?
Yeah, there's no reason why not. You know, I think I actually, you know, Armagh for a while, you know, over the last years, they weren't attractive to watch at all. But you know, from Kieran Donaghy's come in, you know, you can see how quicker a transition is from defence into attack now, and how more forward minded we are, and it's really enjoyable to go and watch. I think, you know, again, the Galway that day, I thought Armagh were going to be the better side of the day. I didn't rate Galway, I didn't rate them just how good they were. You know, I underestimated how good they were. You know, I think over the 70 minutes play, they were the better side. Although we came back into, you know, the last 10 minutes, we were able to rally round, and ended up we got the draw, could have won the match in extra time, and then it went to the shootout. So it was a phenomenal day. It was a great day for Armagh supporters just to be back in Croke Park and be back in the championship. And you know, with some young lads from down to school there, they were telling me it was their first time ever in Croke Park. You know, and I'm saying to myself, geez, boys, you might never get to see another game like it in all your lives. It was just tremendous. But from a football point of view, I think that, you know, for Armagh now, I think, you know, this is the time to push on. You know, we've got draw there in the McKenna Cup. We'll be able to go and have a couple of players coming in there, and hopefully they'll be getting a run just to see we're strengthening the squad up. And we have a reasonably good draw in Ulster as well, dare I say. So, you know, I'd be quite hopeful of getting something this year. You know, I think, you know, expectation, you know, there will be an expectation out there in Irish time. We'll have to start to deliver. You know, Kieran's been there, he's been there 10 years now. He's moulded it. There's a good side there. I think it's as good as the side that I've seen in a long time. And as I say, with that blend now of that defensive structure that they do have, but their transition from defence into attack now is so prolific now. And you know, when you have forwards of Rian O'Neill's and Rory Grogan's, it's something else. Like, it really is. You know, it's great. It's great when they go at it. And it is, you know. And I didn't read a whole lot into the Donegal game last year, because I think we just went into that match. I think there was too much going on the outside of it, and I don't think minds were totally focused on the game that day, which was a pity. But you know, we made up for it that day.